What does it mean to forgive someone who broke your world, only to return when theirs has crumbled? For 10 years, I carried that question like a stone in my chest, its weight growing heavier with each passing season. My husband, David, left me without warning, trading our quiet life for a woman who promised him passion I could no longer ignite. He walked out on a Tuesday morning, leaving behind a note that said, "I'm sorry, Ellen. I need more." Our daughter, Sarah, was only 8, too young to understand why her father vanished, too old to escape the pain of his absence. I rebuilt our lives, brick by brick, in a small house on the edge of town, where the wind carried whispers of resilience. But when David returned, unannounced and broken, it wasn't his apology that unraveled might was the truth his daughter, a stranger to me, carried in her eyes. The morning David came back, I was kneading dough in the kitchen, flour dusting my hands like a second skin. Sarah was at college, her absence a quiet ache I had learned to live with. The knock at the door was soft, almost hesitant, but it sent a jolt through me. I opened it to find him standing there, older, grayer, his once confident shoulders slumped under the weight of years. Behind him stood a girl, maybe 20, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that held a storm. "Ellen," David said, his voice cracked like dry earth, "this is Lily. My daughter." The word daughter landed like a slap. I stood frozen, the air thick with questions I couldn't yet form. I let them in because what else could I do? The man I once loved, and the child he had with another, now sat at my table, their presence a wound I hadn't prepared to face. David's story spilled out in fragments. His mistress, Claire, had left him years ago, chasing a new life in Europe. He raised Lily alone, scraping by in a city that chewed up dreamers like him. He spoke of regret, of nights spent wondering if he could undo the past. His words were heavy with sorrow, but they felt hollow, like a script rehearsed too many times. I listened, my heart caught between anger and pity. Lily sat silently, her gaze fixed on the table, her fingers tracing the edge of a coaster. I wondered what she thought of me, the woman her father abandoned. Did she see me as the enemy, or was she as lost in this moment as I was? Days turned into weeks, and David lingered, offering to fix the leaky faucet, to mow the overgrown lawn, small acts of atonement that felt like bribes. I let him stay in the guest room, not out of love, but because I needed answers. Sarah came home for the weekend, her eyes narrowing at the sight of her father. She was no longer the little girl who cried for him, she was a woman, fierce and guarded. "Why now?" she asked him, her voice sharp enough to cut. David mumbled about wanting to make things right, but Sarah's gaze shifted to Lily, who hovered at the edges of our conversations like a ghost. I saw it too, the way Lily watched us, as if she carried a secret too heavy to hold. The twist came on a quiet Sunday evening, when the air was thick with the scent of rain. We were all in the living room, an uneasy truce settling over us. Sarah was flipping through a book, David was staring at his hands, and I was pretending to read the newspaper. Lily, who had barely spoken since arriving, stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I need to say something," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. We all turned to her, the room suddenly too small. She looked at David, then at me, her eyes glistening. "He's not my father," she said. The words hung in the air, sharp and impossible. David's face crumpled, but he didn't deny it. Sarah's book fell to the floor. Lily's story poured out like a river breaking a dam. Claire, her mother, had lied to David, claiming Lily was his to keep him tethered to her. When Claire left, she told Lily the truth that her real father was a man from a brief affair, long gone. David, unaware, raised Lily as his own, pouring his love into a child who wasn't his by blood. When Lily learned the truth at 16, she kept it buried, afraid of losing the only parent she had. But seeing me, seeing Sarah, seeing the family David had discarded, she couldn't carry the lie anymore. "You deserve to know," she said to me, her voice breaking. "He didn't just leave you. He built a life on a lie, and I was part of it." The room was silent, save for the soft patter of rain against the windows. David's head was in his hands, his shoulders shaking. Sarah's eyes were wide, her anger replaced by something softer, something I couldn't name. I felt the stone in my chest shift, not lighter, but different. I looked at Lily, this girl who owed me nothing, who carried a truth that could have stayed buried. She wasn't my enemy. She was a young woman caught in a story she didn't write, brave enough to speak when silence would have been easier. In the days that followed, David tried to explain, to apologize, but his words were like ash, weightless and fleeting. Sarah and I talked late into the night, unraveling the years of hurt, the questions we'd buried. She asked me if I could forgive him, and I didn't have an answer. Forgiveness felt like a destination I wasn't ready to reach, but I knew one thing, I didn't hate him anymore. I pitied him, a man who chased a dream only to find it hollow, who loved a child who wasn't his and lost the ones who were. Lily stayed for a week, and in that time, I saw her not as David's daughter, but as herself bright, kind, and searching for her place in a fractured world. Before she left, she gave me a letter, her handwriting neat and deliberate. "Thank you for letting me into your home," it read. "I didn't know what I'd find here, but I found strength in you and Sarah. I'm sorry for the pain my mother caused, for the part one played. I hope you find peace." I held the letter long after she was gone, its words a quiet balm. David left soon after, not because I asked him to, but because he knew there was no place for him here. He promised to keep in touch with Sarah, to try to rebuild what he'd broken, but I saw the doubt in her eyes. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. But Sarah and I, we were stronger than I'd realized. We'd built a life without him, and we'd keep building, together. 10 years after David left, he returned, hoping for forgiveness, for a second chance. But it was Lily's truth that changed everything. She showed me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who choose honesty, who choose to stand in the wreckage and speak. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive David, but I've let go of the stone in my chest. I've learned that healing doesn't mean erasing the past, it means making room for new stories, ones written with courage and truth.